Hello and welcome to the last video of this month. Yes, we've already reached it, and breaking fourth wall here. I'm actually recording this before I recorded most of September's uploads. I started watching this, which, in case you didn't read the title, I'm reviewing Death Note. Yes, the very well, not necessarily the very first anime I ever watched, but it's one that got me into the genre fully because, I grew up on the likes of Pokemon, Metabots, Digimon, Blades, Sonic X, that counts. Um, but yeah, it was really this anime that catapulted my love for the genre. Um, so yeah, to kind of like again give you like a heads where I'm at. The last review I recorded was my Hunger Games review, so I still have Inglorious Bastards and all of those to review as well. So yes, I am going to be reviewing Death Note, and it's going to be slightly different because I'm not going to be going over every 37 episodes, like all 37 episodes, talking about the episode individually. No, I can't do that because, for one, we'll be here longer than, a half hour, and which we'll probably already will be, by the way, I'm assuming. And, it's one big story, unlike my past series reviews of Doctor Who and Star Trek, where they're all episodic, so it's more easier to do that way. Um, but yeah, I also have the very first volume to the Death Note manga, um, which essentially equates to the first four episodes to the anime. And this is actually what got me into Death Note. Not the watching the anime itself, it was actually reading the manga in secondary school. I picked this up randomly in my school's library and I started reading and I got hooked because the story of Death Note is very good. It's if you like your mysteries and your dramas and that. That is what Death Note is, but with a supernatural twist to it. So, what is Death Note about now that I've rambled on for nearly 3 minutes? Well, it's about a prodigy, a young prodigy named Yagami, who lives in the Kanto region of Japan. And one day, whilst he's in school, because he's, the top of his class, he doesn't necessarily need to fully listen in to what's going on because he's essentially the top of his class. He goes to grad school every night, and he is the number one student in all of Japan at this time. And one day he sees a falling notebook that looks like this. Yes, this is the Death Note, not the actual prop replica Death Note. This is just like a regular copy book that I bought on Amazon a while ago, thinking it was the actual prop. Because you can buy the actual Death Note prop that has all the names written in Japanese and all that. That kind of is concurrent with the manga and anime. Anyway, yes. So on break from one of Light's classes, he goes out and he picks up that notebook and he reads the first page, and it says, "The human's name who shall be written in this notebook will die." And Light obviously thinks it's a hoax, and he puts it back down and he walks away. But then he immediately goes back and picks it up and he brings it home. And in order to test this theory, because he starts to read more of it and of how to use the Death Note, and it's, as I just said, you write the person's name in the notebook and they will die, except there are some caveats to that. You need to have the person's image, their face in your mind as you're writing down their name, so that way people with the same name can't die. And if you don't specify a cause of death, that person will simply die of a heart attack. But you can write a cause of death, and that will happen. You can also then fill out more information about this death within the first 6 minutes and 40 seconds of writing the name and the cause of death. So you write the person's name, you have then 40 seconds to write the cause of death, and then you have another 6 minutes and 40 seconds to write how they die. So, Light does that. He turns on the news and that there is a hostage situation going on. And so Light Yagami writes the name, and that person, after 40 seconds, dies of a heart attack. And that freaks Light out. But he can't dwell on that for too long because he's got grad school to go to. And so he does. And then whilst he's walking home, he notices a bunch of biker gang, harassing one woman. And so he goes into the convenience store. He listens in after one of his crew, says the main honcho's name. And so as they're trying to assault this woman, Light writes his name, and he dies of a accident. He doesn't die of a heart attack. He writes accident, and that person dies. That freaks Light out, and then he kind of snaps and becomes batshit crazy for thinking that he can become the god of this new world using the Death Note to punish criminals. And so that's what he does. And this then triggers the series of events that leads to Light's downfall over years. So that's just the episode 1 that I've just described there. Now, I'm going to be splitting this review into 3 segments. The early arc of Death Note, as then the Yotsuba arc, and then lastly the 4-year time skip. So continuing on with the early stuff, all of these deaths have started to catch the attention of police worldwide, and they hold a meeting. And this is when one of the best detectives in the entire world decides to take on this case. That person is a mysterious entity known as L. That isn't the supernatural part to it. He's a normal detective that doesn't like to show his face, so he has his companion Watari to essentially go there, set up the laptop so he can speak to them, and he has solved every case that he has taken an interest in. And he works with the police, and so he decides that, let's do a test to try and figure out where this Kira is, because that's what he gets the name of, which is Kira, which is the Japanese for killer. And so they broadcast something in the Kanto region of Japan, egging Kira on, using a stand-in known as Lind L. Taylor. This obviously affects Light's ego, and that's his first slip-up of the series, where he kills Lind L. Taylor on camera, thinking he's L. And that confirms that he is in the Kanto region. And so he teams up with the Japanese police force, which actually has Light's father, Soichia Yagami, as one of the heads of that task force. And so they also figure out that, Kira is a student based on when the killings happen. So Light figures this out because another way to get access to criminals' names and photos, he hacks his father's computer. And this starts the big cat and mouse situation. And then there's apparently not one Kira, but 2, because a second Kira comes about. This happens after L reveals himself to Light, because Light was being watched and bugged by some FBI agents. He found out about who this FBI agent was and killed them. And so L decides to put everyone on the task force that has children on surveillance through the FBI, and then they put in cameras and bugs into the house to try and figure it out. But Light has a way around that. He buys like this portable TV, puts it into a bag of chips, and he eats it and kills people in the most funny, erotic way that the anime tries to portray it as, and it's memeable. It's become a meme at this point. And so, yeah, as I said, Light graduates, goes to college. He is one of the 2 students that are at the top of the class. The second person is L himself. He decides for a few of these people, that he's going to send some people to say that they're L to the suspects, but his main suspect is Light Yagami. And so eventually, Light joins the task force, and that, as I said, that's when the second Kira shows up, because the second Kira is a person named Misa Amane, a goth chick who is now on a one of my list of attractive cartoon goth women. You know, joining the likes of the Hex sisters from Scooby Doo, as well as Shigo from Kim Possible, and many, many more. I guess I do have a type. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, so eventually Misa and Kira at Light meets up, and eventually Misa gets kidnapped, captured for uh, being the second Kira, and gets locked up, and eventually Rem, her Shinigami, that's something I haven't mentioned yet, is the Shinigami. Yes, so they're gods of death, or death gods is the actual translation, and Ryuk is Light's Shinigami who dropped the notebook into the human world because he was bored. There's nothing really to do in the Shinigami realm. Their main job is to write down people's names. So how it works is Shinigamis can't die. You can write their name into the Death Note. Nothing will happen because when a Shinigami writes a human's name who dies with say 20 years left on his lifespan. So say someone's supposed to live for 60 years and a Shinigami kills him at 40. That Shinigami then gains that 20 years that the human was going to have. And so they have really big lifespans. But because they're so bored and they do nothing, the Shinigami have gone lazy. And so Ryuk decides, it's been a while since the Death Note has been sent to the human world. Let me steal one and throw one in. And that's how that happens. And so we also now learn through Misa and her Shinigami, Rem, how to kill a Shinigami. And that is have a Shinigami fall in love. Yes, the Shinigami needs to fall in love and save the human that they're in love with, from dying. That will then kill that Shinigami and add that Shinigami's remaining life onto the person that they've saved. And so that happened. There was a Shinigami who was in love with Misa. Rem decided to, after he died, saving her, picked up that Death Note and gave it to her. And Rem has also fallen in love with Misa at the same time. So Misa gives up her possession of the Death Note, which when you do that, you lose all your memories of the Death Note. And so Light comes up with a plan. He does some trickery. Now this is actually getting into the Yotsuba side of things. He does some trickery. He gives Rem a Death Note, tells him to go find someone who's very corrupt and hungry for power and give them the Death Note, which they do, and it's someone in the Yotsuba company. And so Light goes into voluntary solitary confinement. He gives up possession of the notebook and loses all of his memories, and then joins the Kira task force. Essentially proving that he's not Kira. No deaths happened for 2 weeks, and then they started up after Rem gave the Death Note to the leader, one of the guys in the Yotsuba Corporation, and that starts the Yotsuba side of things. Now, a lot of people don't like this arc because it's boring, and I was one of them. I remember reading the manga for it, and it was just a huge pile of explanation dump. Just walls and walls of text, nothing really happening, and I didn't like. At first, I didn't like it, even when I got to the point in the anime, because what I used to do was I would read a manga book and then watch up until that manga book ended, and then go do that way until I couldn't source any more manga, and I just ended up watching the anime to the end. And so I remember not liking it, but on this rewatch, I actually did. I didn't mind it as much. It's the 4-year time skip that I really don't like, and a lot of people, again, really don't like that time skip. So yeah, surprisingly, I actually did like it. So it's not as long as I remembered it. I remembered it dragging uh, when I first watched it, because it's been years since I actually watched Death Note, so I actually forgot who was the head of the Yotsuba corporation that Rem gave the Death Note to, and some things happen, and eventually the guy gets caught, um, and they all touch the Death Note, and so they can see Rem, because anyone who touches the Death Note can see the Shinigami. It's just whoever's holding the Death Note, when a person relinquishes the Death Note or dies, is the who that person then becomes the owner of the notebook. And so when Light touches the notebook, not only can he see Rem now, he gets all of his memories back, and then he immediately kills him off, and then we get into the end of the Yotsuba stuff, and then the 4-year time skip. So before I continue on, spoiler warning, I'm going to be talking about the aftermath of the Yotsuba and the 4-year time skip, as well as, of course, the ending. So if you haven't seen Death Note and you want to go watch it, do. It's really, really good. And if not, then we'll just get right into the spoilers. So you have this long until I spoil. So, yeah. Okay, so the aftermath of the Yotsuba. Light then tries to find a way to get the name for L to kill him, and then he convinces Ren to do it because there's a new Kira or same Kira that's killing people, which is Misa. Misa Amane gets her memories back and starts writing names in the notebook, in her notebook, which her Shinigami is Ryuk, because they swap notebooks. The once Light relinquished it and handed it back to Rem, he then got Rem to give it to Ryuk, and then have Ryuk drop it, and then done the same with Light's original Death Note, and yeah, then that's what Rem does. Rem, in order to save Misa, um, kills L and Watari in episode 25. And this is the end when the show stopped being good. So yeah, L's real name, by the way, is L Lawless. It's never mentioned in the show. His replacements of Nier and Mello, they have their names revealed, but not L. It got revealed later on. So now we are in just about to hit the time skip. So episode 26 is the first half is a recap. Is a recap of everything that just happened, and it was very, very dull. And then it's the second half that continues on the story. Light takes on the mantle of L and they head up the Kira investigation, and then a 4-year time skip happens to the year of 2012, where Light has graduated from college and has become a detective working with his father and the Kira investigation. And it's basically Light versus Light. Until what Light didn't know was there was L had a caveat where if L didn't get to a computer in time after so many days or logged in or something, it would then be transmitted that he is dead to this place where he grew up, because Watari was an inventor and he founded a school for orphans who had high intelligence to essentially become great detectives. And so there's two replacements, two people that were going to be the successor to L, but L never picked it, and that was Nier, who is essentially just L 2.0, and Mello, who is more emotional than L was. Nier and L are very calculating, and whereas Mello goes through uses emotion, and they part ways. And then, of course, as I said, the time skip happens, and some shenanigans happen with that also involves Light's father dying before he can write Mello's real name, which is Mikhail, into the notebook. Because another thing I forgot to mention is with the Shinigami, they can do a deal to give you the Shinigami eyes, because how the Shinigami are able to see a person's face and name, no, the name will also get to the face, is they can see the person's name and lifespan of a person, and they can offer it to a human who has the notebook, but at half of their remaining lifespan. Now, Light doesn't do this deal. Misa has done it twice, but because of her lengthened lifespan, it's kind of hard to say if halving that made much of a difference. It's never really stated. And yeah, then of course the father does it, and then and because he doesn't write Mikhail's name into the notebook, it results in his death. And yeah, so again, more shenanigans happen. Light decides to give the death note to one of his followers named Taru Mikami in order to do it. And when he kills people in the death note, he sounds like a Cyberman from Doctor Who, because he's always saying delete, 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 and all that. Because Kira has, over the years, massed a massive worshipping by people. There's many different people claiming to be Kira's spokesman, and so on and so forth. And eventually, Nier, who is the one who's heading up it, figures out that it's Light, that is Kira, as well as fake L or L2, and they arrange to meet up. They figure out that it's Taru Mikami, who is the ex-Kira, because he was followed, and he's seen someone seen him kill someone using the death note, which was Light using it, thinking that Nier was going to replace some of the tamper with the notebook, and so he prepared that, making a fake notebook, and it turns out that that's what Nier done. And then they meet up in this place, and Taru is supposed to arrive there after some time, and he also has the Shinigami eyes. So he then writes everyone's name down except for Light, and then it's revealed to all of those that he's worked with over the years that he is Kira. And then it turns out that Taru was an idiot, because he went to the bank twice to go to the safety deposit box, which is where the real death note was, and that allowed Nier to swap that out with another fake. And then Light goes out like a bitch, and Ryuk is the one to finish him off and write his name in the notebook. So yeah, I really going through this rewatch. I really enjoyed it. I was watching 4 episodes a day at one point, or even at one point I watched 6 episodes in a day. I've really enjoyed my rewatch of Death Note, because it's something that I've said I wanted to do for a while. Ever since I actually, bought this box set a year ago on DVD. I said to myself, it's been years since I rewatched it, because I should also mention, I only will ever watch Death Note in the English dub. Now, I don't mind dubbed anime or subtitled anime. I know there are elitists out there that is subbed all the way or dubbed all the way. I couldn't give a flying fuck. It doesn't matter to me. I can watch both. Except when it comes to Death Note. And that is just with how well the English dub for this anime is. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. I've known subbed elitists in the anime community that have sang praises to Death Note's English dub, and it's to them it's the only English dub anime that they will watch. And that's the same with me. Like I'll only ever watch it in the dub. And I'm really happy now that I've actually rewatched it. It'll take a while, but another couple of years before I might decide to rewatch it eventually. But yeah, I'm really happy that I've done that. So, you know, as I said, I've come back, you know, on changed my original opinions because for me, I loved the beginning. I didn't like the Yotsuba side, and I liked the 4 year time skip. Now I like, obviously I like the beginning. I like the Yotsuba side, and then after L dies in episode 25, I don't like the 4 year time skip, and I know a lot of people have actually as well. When L dies, they stopped watching. They never finished it because they didn't see a point without L in it, and I fully agree. I fully agree. I definitely do plan to, because you know Death Note is so big. It is one of the biggest animes out there to the point where you know Netflix has done a live action movie, which was shit by the way. Um, that had Willem Dafoe voice Ryuk, uh, but also in Japan, they've done several different live action movies about Death Note. Um, and I own one of them. I own one of them. L Changed the World, which I believe is the third one in a trilogy. So I definitely do plan to, you know, watch those at some point. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this review. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you on the 1st of October for another scissor reel of what I'm gonna be uploading. I'll see you all next time.